You step up to the line, you swing your arm, and the ball feels heavier than it did 10 years ago. Your feet arrive, but the ball is somewhere behind you, dragging. You throw harder to make up for it, and your shoulder pays the price the next morning. Here is what I found after months of digging. The problem was never your strength. It was a half-second relationship between your feet and your swing that quietly slipped out of sync, and once it did, every ball you rolled felt like a fight. That timing was taught plainly 50 years ago, and then it got buried under equipment sales and complicated coaching that nobody over 60 asked for. I am going to hand you the exact fix, traced back to a coaching method written down in the 1970s by a man who trained more league bowlers than anyone alive. I held a copy of that instruction in a quiet pro shop in Wisconsin, and the moment I read one sentence about the push-away, 40 years of my own bad habits made sense. And this works in the body you have right now, with the ball you already own. Let me take you back to where this case started for me, because I was as skeptical as you probably are. It began with my own scores. I had bowled since I was a young man, carried a decent average through my 40s, and then somewhere past 62 it fell apart. Not slowly, it felt sudden. My ball was hooking too early or sliding straight through the pins with no life at all. I blamed my knees. I blamed the lane oil. I blamed the 14-pound ball I had used for 20 years. And, like most people my age, I did the one thing that made everything worse. I started muscling the ball. I gripped harder. I heaved it. I tried to make speed with my arm because I could feel the speed leaving my body. That is the trap, and almost every older bowler falls into it. But muscle is not where ball speed comes from, and it never was. So I stopped guessing and started investigating, the way you would chase down anything that matters. I went looking for how the good bowlers, the smooth ones, the ones in their 70s still shooting 200, actually did it. And the trail did not lead to the gym. It led to a stopwatch. Here is the first clue that cracked my thinking wide open. Two bowlers can throw the exact same speed, and one of them looks like he is working twice as hard as the other. I watched this with my own eyes at a Tuesday morning senior league. There was a gentleman there, 81 years old, thin as a rail, and his ball came off his hand like it was falling off a table. No grunt, no lunge, and it hit the pocket with more force than mine ever did. I asked him his secret, expecting some story about a special ball. He shrugged and said, "I just let it swing." I just stay out of its way. I did not understand that answer for weeks. But it turned out to be the whole case in 6 words. Let it swing, stay out of its way. Because a bowling ball on the end of your straight arm is a pendulum, and a pendulum is one of the most reliable machines in all of physics. It was studied and measured back in the 1600s. A weight on a swing, if you simply release it and do nothing, will fall and rise in a rhythm you can set your watch to. It creates its own speed from gravity alone. Free speed, speed you do not have to make with a shoulder that is 68 years old. And that is the thing nobody told me. Your arm is not the engine. Your arm is just the rope the weight hangs from. When that 81-year-old man said he stayed out of its way, he meant he let gravity be the engine, and he never fought it. But here is where the mystery deepened, because if it is that simple, why does every older bowler I know throw worse every single year? Why did I? If gravity is free, why were we all running out of gas? The answer was in the feet. Therefore, I had to stop looking at arms altogether and go find out what the legs were secretly doing wrong. This is the part that surprised me most. So stay with me. In bowling, the single most important thing is not your grip, not your aim, not your wrist. It is the answer to one question. Where is the ball at the exact instant your sliding foot stops at the line? Because the whole game lives or dies in that one frozen moment. If your foot has stopped and planted, but your ball is still way up behind you at the top of the backswing, You have nothing left to do but yank it down with your arm. That is early timing, and it is what steals distance and control from almost everyone as they age. Let me explain how it is supposed to work, because once I saw it, I could not unsee it. The classic approach is 4 steps. On your first step, you push the ball out and away from your body. This is called the push-away, and it is the ignition switch for the entire pendulum. As the ball drops from that push-away, it swings down past your leg on the second step. It swings back and up behind you on the third step, and it reaches the very top of the backswing right as you take your 4th step and begin your slide. Then, and only then, gravity brings it down on its own, and it arrives at the bottom of the swing at the precise moment your slide foot stops. The weight releases itself. You barely do a thing. Now here is the number that turned this from a hobby tip into hard evidence for me. Coaches who studied this with film and timing found that in a smooth, 4-step approach, the whole thing takes only a little over 1 second, and the swing and the steps have to arrive together within about 1/10 of a second to feel effortless. 1/10 of a second, that is the entire margin. When you are young, your body hides small errors with raw strength. When you are older, 1/10 of a second off feels like the ball weighs an extra 5 pounds. Nothing changed about your muscles as much as you think. What changed is your rhythm drifted, and nobody ever taught you to measure it. I trace this timing model back to a man named Dick Ritger, a professional bowler who won multiple national titles and then, starting in the 1970s, built a system of bowling camps and coaching that spread across the country and even overseas. His method drilled ordinary league bowlers, not pros, on this one relationship between the push-away and the steps. Thousands of everyday people learned it in church basements and small-town lanes. And here's the part that made me angry, though I am getting ahead of the story. That knowledge was everywhere for regular people 40 years ago. Today you can walk into most bowling alleys and no one will say a word to you about it. So I partially had my answer. Timing, not strength. The push-away sets the clock. But I still did not know why my own timing had gone bad, or how a person my age could fix it without a coach standing behind them. Therefore I kept pulling the thread, and it led me somewhere I did not expect. It led to the ball itself, and to a quiet little practice that costs money and takes independence away from older bowlers without them ever noticing. Here is the clue that opened that door. When I asked around at 3 different pro shops about my slipping scores, every single one steered the conversation toward buying something. A new ball, a different cover stock, a grip insert, drilling. And I understand a shop has to sell to survive, I truly do. But not one of them asked me to walk to the line so they could watch my feet. Not one mentioned the push-away. The fix that was free and lived in my own body got skipped, and the fix that cost $150 or more got offered every time, and it goes deeper than a sales pitch. There is a stubborn myth that a heavier ball knocks down more pins, so you should throw the heaviest ball you can handle. For generations, men especially were pushed toward the 16-pound ball, the maximum allowed, as if using less made you less of a bowler. I believed that. I clung to my 14-pounder long after my body was telling me to let it go, because dropping down felt like giving up. That pride cost me years of good bowling, because here is what the research actually says. The old rule of thumb, backed by coaches and echoed by the governing body of the sport, is that your ball should weigh roughly 10% of your body weight, and never more than is genuinely comfortable to swing. For a lot of us past 65, that means a 10 or 12-pound ball is not a compromise. It is the correct tool, and a lighter ball you can swing in perfect timing will carry the pins better than a heavy ball you have to muscle and drag. Speed and timing knock down pins. A ball that is too heavy destroys your timing before you have even let go. I tested this myself, and I want to tell you exactly what happened, because I did not believe it either. If you have felt that same thing at the line, your foot planted, the ball still dragging behind you, your shoulder aching the next morning because you tried to muscle it, I want you to know that fix does not have to stop at one drill. Everything I have been tracing here lives, laid out step by step, inside the Senior Bowler's Complete System, a PDF that lands in your email right away. It walks you through picking the right ball weight so you stop fighting your own equipment, a grip that protects your wrists and fingers, and footwork engineered for senior stability, the whole pain-free framework, from warm-up to final frame, built specifically for bowlers 65 and up. And you do not have to take my word for the weight thing tonight. Do the math yourself. Take 10% of your body weight, then go feel the ball you are throwing now and be honest about whether you are swinging it or dragging it. That one free check will tell you more than any pro shop did for me. The fastest way to get the books is to scan the QR code right there on your screen, or go to the link in the description or the pinned comment. And here is the honest part. That heavy ball you cling to is costing you good games right now. Every single week you keep dragging it. So let me tell you exactly what happened when I finally put mine down and tried the lighter one, because I did not believe it either. I put down my 14-pound ball, and I rented a house ball off the rack, a 12-pounder with finger holes that did not even fit me right. I expected to lose power. Instead, for the first time in years, my ball reached the top of my backswing on time. It came down on its own. It arrived at the line when my foot did. My average over 3 games went up, not down, with a worse ball that fit my hand poorly. That was the moment I stopped trusting my pride and started trusting the stopwatch. But a rented ball is not the answer for the long run, and I still had not solved the hardest part of the case. How does a person fix their timing alone, at home or at the lanes, with no coach, no camera, and no camp to attend? Because knowing the push-away sets the clock is one thing. Feeling it in your own body when your body has spent years doing it wrong is another thing entirely. That is the wall I hit, and getting over it is what the rest of this investigation is really about. I want to speak now directly to the person watching this who is thinking, that is fine for those smooth bowlers, but my balance is not what it was. My knees complain, and I am not about to go take athletic lessons at my age. I chased down this next part specifically for you, because I needed it to be something you can do standing in your own living room, alone, in ordinary shoes, with nothing in your hand at all. And it turned out to be the most powerful drill I found in the entire case. It comes straight out of the old coaching idea that you cannot fix a swing by thinking harder in the middle of throwing. Your body moves too fast for your brain to correct it in real time. Over 1 second, remember. You have to teach the rhythm first, slowly, with no ball, until your feet and your arm learn to arrive together on their own. And here is the beautiful part. The push-away timing works with an empty hand just as well as it does with a ball, because you are not training strength, you are training a clock. So here is exactly what I did, and what I want you to try. Stand up. Somewhere you have a little room, no ball. Let your right arm hang at your side if you are right-handed, the left if you are a lefty. Now you are going to walk 4 slow steps forward and count them out loud, because saying it out loud locks the rhythm in. On the count of 1, as your first foot moves, push your empty hand straight out in front of you, like you are handing someone a plate. On 2, let your hand fall and swing down past your leg, doing nothing, just letting it drop. On 3, let it swing up behind you as far as it goes on its own. On 4, as that last foot slides forward and stops, let your hand come down and forward past your leg like it is releasing something. 1, out, 2, down, 3, back, 4, and release. Do that 10 times a day. That is all. No ball, no lane, no cost, no risk to your knees because you are moving slowly and deliberately. What you are doing is rebuilding the tenth of a second relationship in the safest possible place. I did this for 2 weeks in my kitchen, feeling a little foolish, counting out loud like a schoolboy. And the first time I stepped back onto a real lane afterward, my body already knew where the ball was supposed to be. The swing found the bottom on its own. I did not have to think. That is what pros mean when they say the game gets quiet. And if even 4 walking steps feels like too much on a given day, there is a smaller version that a person can do sitting in a sturdy chair. Just let your arm hang, swing it gently forward and back like a pendulum, and feel how, if you do nothing, it swings itself in a steady rhythm. Feel the weight of your own arm falling and rising. That falling and rising is the exact engine that throws the ball. You are not too old for gravity. Gravity does not care how old you are. It works the same for the 81-year-old man as it did for the champion, and it will work the same for you. Now, there is a small adjustment inside this drill that most older bowlers never hear, and it fixes the loss of ball speed better than anything else I tried. Are you ready for it? Because it is almost too simple. It is where you start the ball. Most people, as they age and get cautious, start holding the ball low, down around their belt, close to the body, because it feels safe and controlled. But a pendulum only has as much speed at the bottom as the height you drop it from. Hold the ball low, and you have robbed yourself of the very speed you are complaining about losing. So I began starting my hold higher, up around the middle of my chest, even up toward my shoulder on the push-away. That extra height means the ball falls farther, and falling farther means more speed at the bottom, and all of it comes free from gravity. I gained noticeable ball speed without swinging one bit harder. My tired shoulder did nothing extra. The height did the work. This is basic physics that was measured and understood centuries ago, and it is sitting right there for any of us to use. And yet, in years of bowling, nobody had ever told me to simply hold the ball higher to get my speed back. That was the day the case started to break open for me, because I realized the loss I had been mourning, the strength I thought I would never get back, was never the real currency of this game. The real currency was rhythm and height and a relaxed hand, and every one of those things is fully available to a person in their 60s, 70s, even 80s. But I still had one question gnawing at me, the deepest one. If all of this was known, written down, taught to ordinary people in the 1970s, then who preserved it, and where exactly was the proof? Because a fix is only as good as the evidence behind it, and I wanted to hold that evidence in my hands. That search is what led me to the reveal I want to give you now, and it is the heart of this whole investigation. I finally found it in the coaching materials that grew out of the American Bowling Congress and the instruction built by Dick Ritger and the coaches who worked alongside him, the same body that eventually became the United States Bowling Congress. And buried in that old teaching was a single principle, stated plainly, that pulls this entire case together. They taught that the ideal swing is a free swing, and a free swing means the muscles in your arm do almost nothing but hold on. The power comes from the push-away starting the pendulum, from the height of the drop, and from your body walking in time underneath it. They even taught it with a phrase I will never forget once I read it. Let the ball swing you. Let the ball swing you. Not you swing the ball. That is the whole secret the pros use, and it is the reverse of everything an aging bowler instinctively does. As we get older and feel weaker, we grip harder and yank sooner. We try to impose our shrinking strength onto the ball, and every ounce of that effort fights the pendulum and destroys the timing. The pros and the smart old-timers do the opposite. They relax the hand until it is just a hook the ball hangs on. They let the weight fall. They let it swing them. Here is the exact way to feel it, and it is so simple you can prove it to yourself this week. On your next throw, I want you to loosen your grip pressure until it feels almost too loose, like you might drop the ball. You will not drop it, because a hanging weight holds itself in a relaxed hand better than you think. Then do nothing on the way down, but keep your arm straight and let it fall. Do not pull, do not throw. Let gravity take it from the top of the backswing to the bottom, and let it leave your hand at the bottom, out past your ankle, not out in front where you would heave it. Combine that loose hand with a higher starting hold and the 4-count walking rhythm you practiced in your kitchen, and you have just assembled the entire method the champions were taught. I did all three together for the first time on a cold morning at my home lanes, 10 in the morning, empty house, just me. Higher hold, loose hand, counting my 4 steps under my breath. And the ball left my hand with a speed and a smoothness I had not felt since my 40s. I did not throw it. I got out of its way. Exactly like the 81-year-old man told me at the very start, back when I had no idea what he meant. The pins did not just fall, they flew. And I stood there at the line, 68 years old, feeling like the game had been handed back to me after somebody had quietly taken it away. Because that is what had happened to me, and probably to you. Nobody sat us down and said, "Here is why your bowling is getting worse." Instead, the answer got replaced with a sales counter. The free fix, the push away and the pendulum and the loose hand does not make anybody $1. It was taught for free to ordinary people in the 1970s and 80s, and then it quietly faded out of the alleys, while the ball drilling and the cover stock upgrades stayed front and center. The knowledge was not lost by accident. It was just allowed to disappear because there was more money in your muscle failing than in your timing improving. But it was preserved in those old coaching materials, in the memory of smooth old bowlers on Tuesday mornings, in the plain physics of a pendulum that has not changed since the 1600s. And now it is in your hands, which means it cannot be taken from you again. You do not need to be stronger. You need to be lighter on the ball, higher at the start, looser in the hand, and honest about 1/10 of a second. That is the timing secret. That is the whole thing. Let me leave you with the simplest version so you carry it out the door. Drop to a ball you can swing without straining, somewhere near 10% of your body weight. Practice the 4-count walk with an empty hand 10 times a day until your feet and arm arrive together on their own. Hold the ball higher at the start so gravity gives you free speed. And loosen your grip until you are barely holding on, then let the weight fall and swing you. Do those 4 things, and I promise you will feel years fall off your game. Not because you got younger, but because you stopped fighting the one machine that was always on your side. What you just recovered is not a bowling tip. It is the quiet proof that the thing you lost was never your ability. It was a piece of know-how somebody let slip away while you paid for the symptoms. And you are exactly the kind of person who feels that in your gut, the kind who would rather fix the cause with your own 2 hands than keep buying the cure, the kind who trusts a stopwatch over a sales counter. So tell me one thing in the comments, and please actually type it out, because I read them, and this audience only speaks up when I ask plainly. What ball weight are you throwing right now? And are you brave enough to drop 2 pounds and try the loose hand release this week? Tell me the number. Tell me if your shoulder has been paying the price the way mine was. I want to know. And if you want to keep reopening these buried cases with me, the ones where the fix was free all along and somebody quietly buried it, come along, because there is a whole world of this. The next case I am chasing is about the shoes, the rented bowling shoes, and a small adjustment to how the slide sole works that pro bowlers guard like a secret, and that older bowlers with balance worries need more than anyone. I held the evidence on that one already, and it is not what the rental counter will ever tell you. Stay with me, and we will crack that one open together next. Before you go, let me say one thing. Inside the Wise Living Circle, I walk you through the full footwork and swing timing drill, step by step, so you feel it yourself. And if something isn't clicking, you can ask me directly, and I answer you myself, not some machine. You won't be doing it alone either. Just point your phone's camera at the code on the screen. You can cancel anytime. Come join me. Now that your timing feels smoother, let's fix the very thing your whole swing depends on, your grip. In the next video, I'll show you the gentle way to hold the ball that saves your hands. It's starting right here.